A chill wind swept across the dusty clearing, carrying with it the scent of freshly cut lumber and the bitter tang of injustice. Sarah, her shoulders rigid beneath the worn fabric of her jacket, watched as the final nail was hammered into place. 68 homes and entire community now stood on land that bore her family's name for generations. A woman with a sharp, unyielding gaze who called herself the HOA president stood nearby, a smirk playing on her lips. Sarah felt the familiar ache in her chest, a wound deeper than any physical scar. This wasn't just about land, it was about honor, memory, and a promise she had made long ago. The world might have forgotten her sacrifices, but she hadn't, and neither, it seemed, had the land itself. The harsh afternoon sun glinted off the sold signs, adorning each pristine new house, mocking Sarah's quiet vigil. Her hands, calloused from years of service and sacrifice, trembled slightly. She was a woman of few words, her strength forged in the crucible of distant lands and the quiet despair of personal loss. Her eyes, often shielded by a distant look, now held a focused intensity, a spark of defiance that even the formidable HOA president had yet to fully grasp. The injustice of it all was a heavy cloak, weighing down her already weary spirit. Yet beneath the visible exhaustion, a silent resolve was hardening, a quiet storm gathering within her. Sarah's story was etched not in public accolades, but in the quiet sacrifices she had made. Her journey began not in this tranquil American town, but in the desolate, sun-baked landscapes of distant war zones. As a combat medic, she had witnessed the raw brutality of conflict, the fragility of life, and the unwavering courage of those who stood beside her. The memories were a kaleidoscope of dust-choked air, the cries of the wounded, and the deafening roar of explosions. She remembered the faces of the soldiers she had patched up, the terror in their eyes, and the relief when they knew they would live to fight another day. She had saved countless lives, her nimble fingers working miracles under unimaginable pressure. Her calm demeanor, a beacon of hope amidst chaos. But the war had taken its toll, not just on her body, but on her soul. She had returned home with a purple heart pinned to her chest, a symbol of her bravery, but also with invisible wounds that ran deeper than any shrapnel. The laughter of her fallen comrades, the weight of their last breaths, the unspoken promises she had made to them. These were the echoes that haunted her quiet moments. One face in particular always surfaced, that of Sergeant Miller, a man whose easy smile and unwavering courage had been a constant source of strength. He had died in her arms, a final whispered wish for his family's future clinging to her memory. That wish, that sacred trust, had become intertwined with her own promise to protect the land back home, a piece of earth that held generations of her family's history, a place where peace was supposed to reign. Her land, a sprawling expanse of green dotted with ancient oak trees, was not just property. It was a sanctuary, a living monument to those who had come before her and those who would follow. Her grandfather, a gentle giant with a twinkle in his eye, had taught her to read the whispers of the wind through the trees and the stories hidden in the shifting soil. He had instilled in her a deep reverence for the earth, a belief that land was not merely something to own, but something to cherish and protect. After the war, this land had been her refuge, a balm for her wounded spirit. The quiet solitude of its woods, the rhythmic hum of crickets at dusk, the scent of pine needles after a summer rain, these were the sensory anchors that pulled her back from the abyss of her memories. Yet this sacred ground had become the battleground for a new kind of war, a conflict waged not with bullets and bombs, but with legal documents and audacious disregard. The HOA president, a woman named Carol, had moved into the neighboring property 5 years prior. From the beginning, Carol had envisioned a grand development, a sprawling community of upscale homes, an empire built on manicured lawns and strict covenants. She saw Sarah's vast, undeveloped land as a blank canvas, a missed opportunity. Carol had started subtly, with polite suggestions, then with thinly veiled threats. When Sarah refused to sell, Carol's patience, always a thin veneer, had worn away completely. The first sign of true conflict had been the surveyors, their bright orange flags staking out boundaries that were undeniably on Sarah's side of the established line. Sarah had confronted them, her voice calm but firm, pointing to the ancient iron markers her grandfather had placed. They had shrugged, muttering about new interpretations and modern mapping. Then came the earth movers, tearing at the soil, uprooting trees that had stood for centuries. Sarah had tried every legal avenue, her pleas falling on deaf ears. The local council, swayed by Carol's aggressive lobbying and the promise of increased tax revenue, seemed to side with the developer, always finding a loophole, a technicality, to dismiss Sarah's claims. Public opinion, fueled by Carol's carefully crafted narratives of progress and development, began to turn against Sarah, painting her as an obstinate recluse, an obstacle to progress. Bystanders, the very people who would soon occupy these illegally built homes, watched the construction with a detached curiosity, their silence a chilling endorsement of the injustice unfolding before Sarah's eyes. They saw the neat rows of houses, the promise of a thriving community, but they did not see the quiet devastation of a woman fighting for her heritage. Their indifference amplified Sarah's isolation, making her feel like a lone warrior against an insurmountable tide. The sheer audacity of it all, the blatant disregard for ownership and the law, was a constant, stinging insult. As the final roof shingle was laid on the 68th home, Sarah knew a critical moment had arrived. She had exhausted every conventional avenue, every plea to reason, every appeal to justice. Her quiet resistance, her unwavering belief in the truth, had been met with the impenetrable wall of bureaucratic indifference and ruthless ambition. But Sarah's silence was not weakness. It was a testament to her profound patience, a deep well of resolve that only those who had faced true adversity could possess. She remembered Sergeant Miller's words, spoken just before his final breath. "Some battles aren't fought with noise, Sarah. Some are won with quiet strength." A hidden ally, a subtle legal maneuver she had been meticulously preparing, was now ready to be unleashed. The time for silent observation was over. The time for action, cold and decisive, had come. The day came crisp and clear when the local courthouse became the stage for Sarah's quiet triumph. Carol, resplendent in a tailored suit, arrived with her entourage of lawyers, a triumphant smile already gracing her lips. She expected another easy victory, another dismissal of Sarah's frivolous claims. Sarah arrived alone, her demeanor as understated as ever, yet beneath her calm exterior, a steel resolve vibrated. The courtroom was packed, buzzing with a mixture of curiosity and thinly veiled contempt for the woman who had dared to stand against the mighty developer. As the proceedings began, Sarah's lawyer, a sharp, understated woman with an unexpected bite, rose to speak. She didn't shout or rail. Instead, her voice was calm, methodical, as she laid out the irrefutable evidence. Decades-old land deeds, meticulously surveyed plots, and a forgotten clause in a rarely used state law, a law that protected ancestral lands from aggressive development, allowing the original owner to reclaim illegally built structures as their own if specific conditions of blatant trespass were met. The room shifted, a ripple of confusion spreading through the onlookers. Carol's smile faltered, replaced by a growing unease. Then came the moment of the power shift. Sarah's lawyer presented the final, devastating piece of evidence, a signed, notarized document from the previous year, officially declaring Sarah's intention to invoke the specific ancestral land protection clause, a document that had been legally served to Carol and ignored. The color drained from Carol's face. The judge, a stern but fair arbiter, looked at the document, then at Carol, his expression unreadable. He cleared his throat. "Based on the clear and undisputed evidence presented," he stated, his voice ringing through the silent courtroom, "and under the provisions of State Law X, Section Y, the 68 structures built on Ms. Miller's land are legally deemed to be her property, effective immediately." A collective gasp swept through the courtroom. Carol's jaw dropped, her face contorting in a mixture of disbelief and fury. The silent spectators, many of them aspiring homeowners in the newly built community, stared in stunned silence. Their dream homes, built on stolen land, now belonged to the quiet woman they had so easily dismissed. Sarah remained impassive, her gaze steady, a silent testament to her enduring strength. "True honor," she had once told Sergeant Miller, "isn't about how loud you speak, but how unwavering you stand. The truth of those words hung in the air, a powerful, unspoken echo. Outside the courthouse, a small crowd had gathered, drawn by the whispers of the unexpected verdict. As Sarah emerged, a palpable shift occurred. The same people who had once regarded her with indifference or disdain now looked at her with a newfound respect, even awe. Whispers of "she owned them" and "she did it" spread through the crowd. Carol, trailing behind, was met not with sympathy, but with silent, knowing stares, her arrogance finally stripped bare. The justice served was not just legal, it was moral, a resounding affirmation of quiet strength over brash ambition. The resolution was not marked by shouting or celebratory fanfare, but by a powerful, collective silence. People, touched by the story that had unfolded, watched as Sarah, still the embodiment of quiet dignity, walked towards her car. Some nodded, some offered small, respectful smiles. A few even stepped forward, offering quiet apologies for their earlier judgment. The image of those 68 houses, now legally hers, stood as a monument not to conquest, but to enduring resilience. Sarah had not sought revenge. She had simply sought justice, and in doing so had reminded everyone that some battles are won by those who possess unwavering inner strength. This story serves as a profound reminder that often the most significant victories are achieved not through outward aggression, but through quiet perseverance and an unshakable belief in what is right. It tells us that true strength is often found in the calm eye of the storm, in the silent dignity of those who refuse to be broken. We invite you to share your thoughts on this incredible story. Where are you watching from today? What does silent strength mean to you? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that honor the true, unseen heroes among us.